Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. It is another commitment edition of Birminology. Today, it's Maxwell Roy, a four-star defensive lineman from Philadelphia, St. Joe's Prep, who is committed to Ohio State over Michigan, Wisconsin, and a handful of others. We're going to talk to Max about his decision right now. Max Roy joins us now. Max, big day for you. Happy Monday, happy July, and happy commitment day. How does it feel to be committed to Ohio State?
Happy Monday to you too, Jeremy. Feels great. It's a special feeling.
This feels like a recruitment that in the last couple of weeks has taken some twists and turns, Max. I mean, there was a lot of people heading into the month of June that had all, kind of written you off for Ohio State. You made your official visit there, and then you still had an official visit up north in Ann Arbor, where a lot of people thought you were going. Ultimately, what was it about Ohio State? What was it about Larry Johnson that made Ohio State the right choice for you, even though no one else really seemed to know it was coming until a couple days ago?
I mean, it's well known how well of a connection Ohio State has with our school. So, I've been able to build a really good connection with Coach Johnson, Coach Knowles, Coach Day. And, you know, once I got up to Ohio State for my OV, I felt like that was a place for me. And of course, people who don't really know me came out with stuff saying where I was going, what I was doing. But I felt, the Ohio State was a place for me before I even went up to Ann Arbor.
What's interesting, Max, is that in your recruitment, Jim Knowles, obviously, he's also a fellow prep kid. He went there a little bit before your time, obviously, but the connection you have with Jim Knowles, with Ryan Day, I think actually is something that really carried this recruitment along through the spring. How valuable has it been for you to have that a three-headed monster of Larry Johnson, Jim Knowles, and Ryan Day? And what is it about the relationship with those guys that's been unique for you?
No, it's different than my relationship with like a lot of other coaching staff, just because of how strong their ties to our school are. Me and Coach Knowles sometimes we'll talk to each other, not say a word about football, just talk about the experience at the prep. Coach Johnson, Coach Day, it's just been a great time getting to know them through my recruiting process, like a experience that I can't really say I have with many other schools.
We have you listed as I look at the 2-4 or the on three consensus rankings. They have you listed at 6'2" and a half, 290 pounds. You are the number 19 ranked defensive lineman in the country. You've had an interesting spring. Yeah, you had an ACL injury in the spring. Do you think that slowed things down at all? And how has that impacted your recruitment? And where are you at with your rehab?
I'm going very well through my rehab. That's a great part about going to a school like St. Joe's Prep. When stuff like that, injuries are just part of the game, but it's about the people you surround yourself that help you attack rehab. I've had that so much around me through my process and through my rehab. And so I would say it did slow down my process for only a little bit of time, but you know, overall the plan was to commit after my OV. So stuff like that happens, but it didn't really slow down my own process.
How impactful is it? I mean, you've been recruited by Ohio State for a long time, as you mentioned. Your teammate Isaiah West was only recruited by Ohio State for what felt like 14 seconds before he decided he was committing to the Buckeyes. Was it initially you telling Isaiah to think about Ohio State, or was it when he really turned up the heat with the Buckeyes that you and him started talking about it more often?
Me and him always talked about ever since, freshman year going to the same college. I didn't think it was going to happen until he got that Ohio State offer where that thought came to both of our minds. It was never like one of us trying to push each other in a certain direction, but it was always a conversation. Like, I could say Isaiah is one of my best friends. And so the thought about being able to play 3 to 4 years with him is an amazing thought.
I think it's funny, actually, Max, when you talk about the relationship between Ohio State and St. Joe's Prep and how much it's changed in the last 5 years, because there was a stretch, and I'm sure you could probably talk to Coach Roken about it, where Ohio State was not really welcomed in the building in the mid 2000s, and it changed with Marvin Harrison and Kyle McCord. Now you have Keenan Nelson Jr. on the roster. You committed and Isaiah committed. What is it about the prep in Ohio State that you think are similar? What is it drawing you guys to that program?
It's about doing the right thing. The our school is about doing things the right way. Ohio State makes sure to always share guys correctly. You know, we talk a lot as a team. I've talked to Marvin Harrison. I've talked to Kyle McCord. Um, you know, if Ohio State treated one of our guys wrong way, or there's something that we need to know about, we would know about it. And from conversations I've had with all those guys, they've only had great things to say about Ohio State. That echoes around the building. You hear about how well they're treated, how prep guys feel around there, how they feel at home, how it feels like the place I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So just through that, the connection just keeps growing stronger. I feel like.
What has this recruiting process taught you, Max? I mean, you've been a highly recruited guy for over a year now. It's not like you are unfamiliar with this process, but again, because of the injury, maybe things slowed down a little bit. What have you learned about yourself through this process, and how do you intend, or how can you help the next guy who comes through the prep?
Um, you know, the one thing I would say to anyone who comes to the prep, anyone going through my situation, highly recruited guy, anyone even going through a recruiting process, is just to take a second and breathe. There's so many people throwing stuff at you, calling you. It's sometimes overwhelming. It's tiring. But one thing I learned through this process is you just need to breathe. How many days where I just had to take some time to myself and just really think, what is the best place for me and my family? What is going to be the best place for myself? And that's how you really come out with the best decision, I feel like.
Your recruitment, again, it's been a little bit low key. I mean, let's call it what it is. Ohio State now has you committed. They just added Trajan Odom from North Carolina on Friday. You two are two defensive tackles, both maybe three tech, similar spots, I think. Um, what is the challenge for you now is putting on a hat and being a recruiter, because you have, as you said, been able to take time and been able to um, you know close things down and be private when you need to be. Do you feel like you have it in you, or do you want to be an active recruiter to help bring in the next guy in this class?
I definitely do, but I feel like Ohio State speaks for itself. All I have to feel like I need to tell recruits the truth. Anything that I learned through my recruiting process, I feel like once I tell recruits how I felt up there, how it is up there, the guys who are meant to be here are going to be here. So I think I'll definitely be a guy who's going to be put on the recruiting hat soon.
Let's get difficult here. What was the most challenging phone call you had to make when you decided to let other people know where you were going to school? And you don't, if you don't want to name names, that's fine. But what made it challenging, and what was the response from other schools?
You know, I'll say my top three schools were Ohio State, Rutgers, Michigan. And all those coaching staff, they understood my decision. They didn't try and pressure me or anything, make me feel bad about myself or try and insult me or anything. But with that, I built such good relationships with each coaching staff that it felt like you know almost like you know I really like these coaching staff. Almost felt like losing a friend for some of
Yeah.
these places, like saying, hey, I'm not going to your school. It sucked, but that's part of the business. I wasn't the first kid not to go to their school, and I won't be the last. And so, all those calls where I had to, tell them, this is the best decision for me and my family right now. Thank you. It sucked, but I think each one of them had to be done.
Yeah. And on the plus side, when you break up with your next girlfriend now, you have a much better idea of how to do it, right? Like, it's nice and easy. You do the old it's not you, it's me thing. Like, you did everything right, sweetheart. You tried your best, but it's just not for me right now. That's an adult conversation and a hard one to have. Tell me about your background, Max, a little bit. Like, how has your family helped you get to this point? Who do you really lean on when you've had these tough days through this process? And what is, at the risk of sounding cliche, like, what's your why through this whole process?
What's my why? Huh. So, first, like, I have to thank my mom and dad. They have helped me so much through this recruiting process. Going on long visits, going on these long road trips, to see places. You know, I think my why is I want to be the best version of myself, and I think that's always been the goal of everything I've done so far. Going to a school that's harder than most, it's harder the most academically, harder than most athletically. I'm going to Ohio State, which a lot of people say, you know, about this, about the depth chart, about this, it's about challenging myself, trying to become the best person I could be, whether that be athletically, as a man, academically, anything I can do to become a better person. That's always been my goal.
When it comes to Ohio State, again, for the people that are a little bit uninitiated about who you are, what type of player are they getting? Who do you model your game after? Where do you see yourself needing to improve the most? Where do you think you're strongest right now? Just give us a little self-assessment of Maxwell Roy, the nose tackle.
So first you're getting a player that, you know, you could watch, the way our my team, St. Joe's Prep plays defense, you can watch me. We're taught never to give up on the play. And I promise every single play you're gonna get 100% out of me. You're gonna get everything I have to give to the team. And I try to model my game off of Dexter Lawrence. That's who I'd love to say. Guy plays in that interior who, great on his disengages, can pass rush, very versatile player, can play out of four, at a 0-3, do everything.
When it comes to Larry Johnson and the official visit, can you maybe walk people through what makes him different than other coaches? Because I know that he spends a lot of different time with you guys, breaking down film, going over stuff like that that maybe others don't. What was something that, or was there like a light bulb moment when you were sitting with Larry Johnson where you're like, this guy gets it in a way that others don't?
Um, it's when he's showing drills. He makes sure to show you the type of drills he does. I'm a guy who likes to call myself a student of the game, and I try and learn whatever I can about the game. When you're given the opportunity to learn from a guy like Coach Johnson, I took every opportunity through my recruiting process and asked him as many questions as I could. No matter what the question was, no matter what I was thinking about, he always had a drill for it, and it was crazy. I would ask him a question about, I want our D line to start trying to bat balls more, and we've been struggling at that. Do you have a drill for that? He would automatically send me a clip. Anything that we talk about, he has a drill tape, teach tape for it. He's a guy who just constantly work on his game. Even though he's been in the game for so long, he's constantly trying to improve.
He's a very interesting man. Obviously, I'm sure you've noticed watching him practice and watching him work out how low key he is and chill he is during those workouts. But he can get after it. So don't be surprised when that happens. Max, you wear number 77. Why do you wear number 77? Is there anything to that? What does it mean to you?
So that's a funny story. So when I was coming in as a freshman, I was offensive lineman, and the biggest head in the world. I thought I was going to be the best offensive lineman in the world. I get on varsity, and I asked my coach for 77. We head up to Penn State for a service trip, and we do the Penn State camp there. End up, talking with a Penn State coach who used to be our previous head coach, Coach Infante, now working at Duke.
Mhm.
Ends up having me play D line there. Play D line there. Never go back to offensive lineman. I get moved to defensive lineman. I walk into my head coach's office, probably maybe the next week. Ask him, "Hey, coach, you know, I know that I'm getting moved to D line, but I still have an offensive lineman number. Can I maybe change it? Can I get like a number in the 90s?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, Maxwell. 100%. Probably just later. Just I'll talk to you later about it." End up wearing it for the next 2 years, and I really enjoy the number.
It's rare. I mean, I wasn't sure if that was going to end up being a Paris Johnson story or something, how you just wanted to be Paris Johnson when you were an offensive lineman. But I guess the reality is every number has a value. Let me ask you this. Have you found a good cheesesteak on your visits to Columbus? And if you have, what's the secret spot for Philadelphians who are going to make the trip to watch you play in Central Ohio?
You know, I think a lot of Ohio State fans aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but you know, love Columbus, love the people out there, love the coaching staff, love everybody. But they just don't make cheesesteaks like Philadelphia. They don't make cheesesteaks like South Jersey. I mean, I'm still gonna be keep looking through my college career, and I'll make sure to report back to the fans when I find one.
Yeah. My coworker Bill Landis believes that there's a place called Wario's in Columbus, like Wario, the bad guy from Super Mario Brothers or Luigi or whatever. He says, and he's a Philadelphia guy. He's a Philadelphia native, so he says that Wario's is the place to go to get cheesesteaks in Columbus. So
Mm.
on your next visit, try. Now, are you like a true Philadelphian, or are you like a fake Philadelphian like Kyle McCord, who's actually from Jersey?
I mean, a little bit. I think fake Philadelphian is a little strong. I am a guy from South Jersey. I think
Uh,
Common Court's probably about 15, 20 minutes away from where I live right now.
So you're closer to being a true Philadelphian than Kyle. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
mm,
All right. Well,
not
that's
as fake as Kyle was.
yeah. Well, Kyle's a great kid, and his family, they put in a ton of work to getting him to and from West Jersey every day to get him to Philly. So
West Jersey.
yeah, that's what I call it. That's what, Kyle did not always love it when I joked about it, but yeah, West Jersey. And Bill, my coworker, hates it too because I try to tell it all the time. He's from Philly. So he said. So he says. We'll see. You'll get to know Bill as your career moves on. But look, Max, big day. What's the commitment dinner plans with the family as you guys get ready to celebrate this tonight?
Well, you're gonna have to talk to my mom about that. I think she's gonna surprise me with something.
Well, is there? So that leads to the next question. What's the one dish when you come off to college that you're going to miss the most of your mom making at home?
That's easy. Mac and cheese. My mom's mac and cheese, best in the world.
Oh,
Can't compete with it.
well, all right. Well, that's a high bar to clear, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to doubt you. You look like a kid who understands mac and cheese. So you've really grown up. You know good mac and cheese. You know how to break up with your girlfriend, and you know how to make a college choice. And you've committed to the Buckeyes. Maxwell Roy, thank you so much for taking time to join us on this episode of Birminology. We really appreciate it, and look forward to your senior season at St. Joe's Prep.
Thank you. It was a great time being here.
No problem. He's Max Roy. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been Birminology. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.